Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Sports for All podcast. I'm your host Eden, and today I am coming with a special bonus episode for all of you to enjoy. This one is talking more about the logistics behind Taekwondo, some of the different terminology I use throughout the series, because obviously I know what a lot of these terms mean, and if you're in the Taekwondo world, even if you're in the martial arts world, you'll also know what these mean. But majority of people might not know. So I'm just going to clarify a few different kind of words that I might use, maybe like give you a bit more background into how competitions work, kind of what Taekwondo is, and the different aspects within it as well. So firstly, I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the key parts of Taekwondo, and maybe some of the basic terms. So, Taekwondo is translated from Korean to the way of the foot and fist. That means kicking and punching. That is obviously trying to like encapsulate the whole of the sport, which there's so many different sections, which I will break down. So, depending on your belt level, so I'm going to go through the belts really quickly. You guys will know the belts hopefully by the end of this series, but you start with white belt. And then there's yellow belt, green belt, blue belt, red belt, and black belt. Um, so those are the main belts. And then in between, you have the tags, which is the exam before the belt. So, for example, it goes white belt, then it goes yellow tag, then it goes yellow belt, then it goes green tag, green belt, blue belt, red tag, red belt, black tag, black belt. Black belt is obviously the highest, but then after black belt, there's dans, which is you building on your black belt knowledge and experiences, and you learn lots of different new things. The learning keeps going when you get to black belt. It doesn't stop. In fact, for most people, it feels like it's kind of only the beginning. When you're a black belt, you're first dan, then there's second dan, third dan, fourth dan, fifth dan, and then once you get to fifth dan, you become a master. And then you got sixth dan, seventh dan, eighth dan, ninth dan. Um, and ninth dan's the highest. So there's master, then there's grandmaster. When you officially become an eighth dan, you are a grandmaster. Each of these gradings, you have to have a set number of years in between them. So, for example, from second to third dan, you need 2 years. Third to fourth dan, you need three, and then it increases by 1 year nearly like every grading that you do. Um, most a lot of people go to Korea to do their Grandmaster, and that is a really like intense grading where it's over a span of a few days, I think, and you have to show like your knowledge and your commitment to Taekwondo for all the belts and since you've joined. There's more Korean as well. I think it's a very prestigious thing to get a Grandmaster, even a Master, even a black belt. A lot of effort and commitment and time goes into it. Um, so that's how the belt system works. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about the term grading, which basically, for those of you who aren't familiar, it's like an exam. And it's split into normally two parts. The first part's the physical, and then the second part is the written Korean, which is for ages, I think you have to be 13, and it's built upon the different syllabuses. So, for example, if you're going for your green belt, you'll have to know all the Korean knowledge from white belt to green belt, even if you weren't 13. So if you're 13 and like about to do your red belt, you'll have a lot to catch up on. But I personally really enjoy learning the Korean, and I thought it was quite easy for me. I've been quite good at languages. I picked it up quite quickly. So grading's basically your exam for your next belt. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about the different sections within Taekwondo. So obviously kicking is a big one. Each kick can be built upon. So, for example, there's a kick that is my favorite kick. People who know me who know that I love this kick, turning kick. As you get more advanced, this can be built upon. So, for example, you can learn how to do a reverse turning kick. Then after that, there comes a 360 turning kick. There's a jumping 360 turning kick. Like it builds upon it. And all the kicks can be quite different, and they can be incorporated into lots of different aspects. But it's a big section of your of the sport is kicking. Then the next big section is hand techniques. So this is like punching, strikes, blocks, thrusts, and again, depending on what level you're at, these get progressively harder as you get up the belts, and you can do a lot more with them as well. There's also a section that you might be asked at your grading when you get higher up the belts, which is um called your own hand techniques. So what that means is you go up and down the mats doing your own hand techniques, and you can incorporate kicks into that as well. Depending on what you'll be asked in the exam, you might be asked for just like your own kicking techniques or your own hand techniques, or maybe both. So and this is normally when you get to a higher belt. So by that point, you'll have a good amount of knowledge to be able to kind of make your own combinations that will work. And I always really enjoyed doing that. Freedom to express yourself and like pick ones that you were stronger at as well to be able to showcase your best self at the grading, because that's always what you always wanted to be able to do. And there's two other main sections. There is Kurugi and Pumse. Kurugi is sparring, so that is when you put on body armor and you have one opponent, or whenever you get higher up the belts. I've never done this before, but you have more than one opponent, and you basically, to put it lightly, fight them. But it's very controlled, and there's like lots of different points for different kicks that you can do, and you get 1 point if you do a punch on their body armor, and there's electronic body armor. And if anybody's seen the Olympics, this is the form that they do in the Olympics, is the Kurugi. You can also compete in it. I never did compete in it. I was always, if I'm honest, quite scared to. Our club wasn't very Kurugi focused. We obviously did it because you have to do it. And it's part of Taekwondo, and we did enjoy it, but it wasn't something that we wanted to focus on as a club. There was other clubs that focus more on that, and we were able to do seminars and stuff to develop our skills and keep it up, but it wasn't like a massive thing that our club focused on. Um, you find that a lot with the clubs. Like normally, one club has a strength over the other. So our club was really strong in Pimsay, which is patterns, which I have going to be referring to quite a lot. And patterns are a sequence of movements, a set formation, incorporating kicking and hand techniques and stances as well. Stances go alongside hand techniques, so there's loads of different. It's how you position your feet, how you position your legs, and how you like move up and down the mats, or in this instance, in the pattern. So there's 8 patterns that you learn from yellow tag up. There's also 2 beginner patterns that you learn when you're going for your yellow tag. So those kind of set the foundations. They've got basic blocks in them. And then the patterns are called take-its. So you got take-it 1 up to 8. Then when you get to black tag, you learn choreo for your black belt, which is the first black belt pattern. And then you learn at least 1, if not 2, black belt patterns as you progress from black belt onwards. And they obviously get progressively harder. Um, these patterns also have meanings in Korean. When the patterns get harder, the patterns have more of a meaning to them. So, for example, when you get to your black tag, you have to learn the pattern choreo, which is quite complex compared to all the other patterns. Like there's a big jump between Take It 8 and choreo. For those of you who know Taekwondo, there is a big jump between the two of them. Um, and there's a big jump. The jumps get bigger as you move up the belt. So the patterns obviously become harder, but there is quite a big jump between them. Because you learn different hand techniques and that kind of thing. So for each pattern, there's a paragraph that you have to learn that explains what the pattern means as well. When you get to that black belt stage, so it does definitely become harder. Um, you can compete in patterns too. That's all the competitions I've ever done. I don't know how many competitions I've done, probably at least 20, if not more, over the years. You get judged out of 10, but I've never seen anybody get above 8 in my own experience. But that's not to say that people haven't. Um, you get judged on your presentation and accuracy, so how well do you perform the movements and how accurate are they? Um, I'll talk more about competitions and what the format is for that in a little minute. So the next thing that we do is in Taekwondo is one step and three step. Now, three step is there's 12 of them and you start learning them when you're 13, I think. These three steps are a sequence of stances and um punches and hand techniques and kicks as well. You pretend you're being attacked, and it's self-defense. And then there's one step which gives you a bit more creative freedom. You're able to make up your own techniques. So how it works is somebody does a punch, and then you have what do you do when that person does a punch? How do you defend yourself? And then the last section, that is one of the main things you do in Taekwondo is stepping. So this was a big significant chunk of my black belt grading, and basically you have to pretend that you've got an opponent opposite you, and how do you like move? How do you transition? It's good preparation for sparring. How you can like knee them, or you can move out of the way, or duck, or move around them, or go really like two steps forward or fast. It's quite hard to explain. It's a lot more than just like standing there walking. It's very high energy. You're like on your toes. You're bouncing, 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 like pretending you have an opponent in front of you. Those are kind of the main things. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about other generic terms that I might be using throughout this. So the next one is I've talked about gradings, but to the exams. I'll tell you a little bit more about how they work. So obviously you got the physical and the written, like I said, but it's you normally do them every 3 to 6 months, maybe even slightly longer when you get higher up the belts because you have to learn more, and you have to get a certain mark to get to pass them, and um, if you fail a grading, you can normally reset it in the next cycle, but sometimes you might have to wait a bit longer. It can be quite a long day. If anybody's listening to this who's about to do grading, bring food and water. They're nerve-wracking experiences because you're in a small group of maybe 4 to 5 people, sometimes even smaller. Roughly people your own age, but it might be bigger, it might be smaller, depending on how many people are doing the grading and timings and everything. You're basically in front of like four judges, three, four judges, maybe two, maybe three, maybe four, just kind of depends. Um, and you have to do your moves in front of the judges, and they have to score you on each different section that you do. And there's normally like a black belt demonstrator, but when you get up the grades, you don't really need a demonstrator because at that point you should kind of know what you're doing. And there's people from other clubs there, emphasis on you doing everything like individually. And it's quite a lot of pressure, I'm not gonna lie, but I always enjoyed meeting other people from other clubs and spending time there, getting to know people and like that little bit in between where you kind of could talk to people, and then gradings are interesting experiences, but they are definitely so worth it once you get your belt like that. You normally get them like the next class. Like that feeling of going up and everybody like clapping for you and standing up at the front of the hall and putting on your pieces of tape, getting your new belt and putting your new belt on over at the side, like swapping positions because how the classes work is it goes from black belt at the front and then all the way back to white belt or people who don't have their uniform even if they're like brand new. Um, and the adults normally are at the back, or the bigger kids, or the younger ones were at the front so they could see what was happening. Especially on a Saturday class, that was how it worked because it was like a kids class mostly until second class. So we used to help out. That's a grading experience is it's basically just an opportunity for you to showcase what you've learned. And how have you improved since the last grading? So I will tell you a bit about competitions. I'm gonna be honest, I've only been to a couple Kuragi competitions. I've never competed in them. So I'm not an expert in Kuragi, so I can't really tell you like a lot about that. But from a Pumse point of view, Pumse has like lots of different categories. There's lots of different age categories. It's dependent on belt, age, um, and there's also other categories. So everybody does an individual. Um, and then there's teams, which is 3 people, normally around the same age, always near enough the same gender, but I think they do mixed teams and stuff now. It's become a bit more common. Even like families, I think, do it now as well, which is really interesting. And then there's pairs, which is normally you and somebody else, uh, normally the other gender as well. But again, I think now they do mixed pairs too. It's become a bit more accepting, I guess, in a way, because it's quite binary. It's Taekwondo sometimes, which is not the best, but definitely a bit more like open to people from different backgrounds and different identities, and which is really good. Um, but yes, there's those three categories, and then there's also freestyle, which is like incorporating dance and gymnastics into Taekwondo. There's freestyle individual, freestyle para, freestyle team, and then there's like the para Taekwondo aspect as well. I think they have individuals, pairs, and teams as well, um, which is really good. Most competitions have that now as well, which is really lovely to see it being more inclusive. And I know my coach Damien, I will hopefully get him on the podcast. If you're listening to this, Damien, you're going to come on the podcast to talk a bit more about like how that works, how like competitions work for them, and really amazing. And some of the para athletes I've seen at competitions, like even growing up, I was like amazed at how like incredible it was, and a big inspiration for me and a big inspiration for a lot of girls in the um a lot of girls and even boys as well, is Amy Truesdale, who won an Olympic gold medal at the last. She's amazing. She came to our club for a seminar. I think I talked more about her in one of the episodes, but she's incredible. So the Pimsleur competitions have obviously belt groups as well as age categories. So there's under nines, which is peewees, I think. They've changed the names of these, so I might get this wrong. There's cadets, which is under 14s, then juniors, which is under 17s, and under 30s, and then there's obviously other, like it gets older. I think because the oldest one's like under 70s, maybe. I don't know. I stopped competing in juniors. Yeah, I think the last competition I did, I was 17. Um, but it's 1 year added on to your age. So I was always in the age group above me, near enough, just because my birthday fell in October. So I was technically 1 year older in Korean age than I would be in UK age. Kind of complicated. Like I was never in cadets when I was 14 because it includes the age group, so it's under 14, including 14. But I was never in cadets when I was 14. I was always in juniors because my birthday, I was technically 15 in Korean age. So that's how it works. And then patterns are like gradings in the sense that you have judges that sit in front of you and you are in the middle of the mats. Then there's people behind you on the computers who manage the scoring system. Um, so yes, it's quite scary. There's normally a good few judges. I think it's like five maybe. Um, and there's a caller at the side of the ring. So they basically tell you when to come on, when to start, that kind of thing. Like to wait when the scores come up. It depends how big your group is on how many rounds there are. Um, but the final is normally eight people, and then it's first, second, third, fourth medal. So you get a medal if you come fourth as well. You get bronze. And I think some categories I've seen in the past have like 25 people. I think it gets higher as you get older as well. There's some massive groups like under 30s is a massive group, even across mostly just the Dan age group, and then under 17s is always quite big, um, in Dan as well. But my under 14s was big when I was competing in cadets. It was always really big. The last thing I'm going to talk about is seminars. So seminars, like people probably have in their head like quite a corporate kind of environment with like lots of people and like people coming to speak, kind of businessy type keynote seminar event. Um, I know people listening to this probably have been to many of those, but this is different because obviously it's like a sport. So seminars were held quite regularly. There was probably at least one a month, if not maybe two, sometimes. And they were really large events where all the clubs came together and all the different belts, all the different ages, all the different grades. Depends what the the session was on or who it was who was taking it or how many people. Because normally, sometimes it was even more than one person taking it. We used to like split into groups. But it was a great opportunity for us to be able to like learn more and like really develop our skills and knowledge. And also, I always really had fun at them as well. Just socially, and sometimes we had like games and like you just got to know people better as well. Um, so that was amazing. So how seminars worked is there was like an expert in whatever it was, or and they were held in different venues as well, and different clubs took it in turns to hold them to help to um and also different people came, and it was yeah, it was really cool. And you just basically did taekwondo for like a good long time, like at least 3 hours. I think I've never been to a seminar that was any less than 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. Um, we had like Olympians come, we had GB coaches, we had um like grandmasters from Korea. We had like even just more locally based seminars with like the masters here, even from down south as well. Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit more about like some of my favorite seminars down the line, but I think one that really stands out for me is well, I did it twice actually. I trained with him twice, but it was Ilpit Kang's seminar, who is a grandmaster who lives in Korea, and oh my goodness, he's just amazing. I learned so much. It was just mesmerizing, really. I learned so much from even like the basic patterns when I was doing my seminar with him. It was just incredible. That was my favorite one. But they were always really interesting, and you could always like take a lot from them and put it into practice. I think that's the last thing I want to tell you guys about. Um, Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful. I hope you all enjoyed episode 1 last week. I will see you all on Friday for episode 2. Thank you all so much for all your support. Let me know what you think of these episodes, and until then, bye. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. If you want to find me and connect further, you can find me on LinkedIn at Eden Byrne. Until next time. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. If you want to connect with me further, you can find me on LinkedIn at Eden Byrne, and be sure to check out all the other amazing podcasts on Be the Change Media Network.